We're up to paragraph 625.
You know, I started thinking about the whole Gnosis thing, and in a way, it seems like there's a fundamental bias that goes all the way back.
To 300 AD or something like
all
that.
the way back into their thinking. Because they start out, Gnosis is a duality. Let's say there's light and dark, just to make it real simple and go all the way back. Light and dark, okay, or it's, so what's the good light? What's the bad dark? What's the good spirit? What's the bad material? You know, there wouldn't be one without, there's no way for one to be without the other. So actually, they're equal. I heard it said another way. Why is the dark side always trying to capture the light side? You know, it's just that, which is what got me thinking. And I said, well, the dark side, that's what is. You know, without the dark side capturing the light, there would be nothing. There would be no consciousness at all.
Right. Well, all the opposites either attract or they repel.
So
perfectly.
The dark side is not really evil.
That's
it's
right.
just part of the process that makes everything possible.
Precisely.
And then when you want to, when you die and you go to heaven, you want to go into the light. Well, of course, you're going back into the Pleroma, but the dark side is also part of the Pleroma. You know, I mean, it's part of this whole, you know.
Yeah, because one of the key points of Jung that even I'm just grokking is that all of these things have always existed in the Pleroma. I mean, one of his really mysterious quotes, which always got me, was, if everything were destroyed, it would all begin again. And that's the point. I mean, his point on the birth of Christ is that the birth of Christ was always there in the Pleroma, and it finally emerged in the physical world with Jesus Christ of Nazareth. But all life is trying for consciousness. The Pleroma is a key idea, and you know, the Buddhist Rinpoche is selling mind, right? Rigpa, which is the state that you're trying to achieve when you're in meditation. And I said, well, have you ever heard the term Pleroma to him? And he hadn't. So I said, well, this is homework for you for next week, because I want to know whether the Pleroma is equivalent to mind in your opinion.
Well, the Pleroma is beyond duality, so that's the supreme, you know.
Well, and that's what mind is too.
That's what they call mind.
Enlightened mind?
Well, okay, I got you.
Well, enlightenment would be understanding that, grokking that, and
yeah, you're right.
But I think, according to a little further in the book that I read just today, Jung leaves it open-ended that it can go either way. It can flip-flop either way. And
what do you mean flip-flop? What's flip-flopping?
Well, the consciousness and unconsciousness.
Well, that's a duality.
He said because Jesus came back in the vision, and it was like he didn't trust himself and left the Holy Ghost to sort of like hold things in place for a while, as if it could go away again and Yahweh could come back. I think that's the essence of what I think he was saying.
I think the essence of what he was saying was that he was leaving his spirit behind, like Lucy, okay, and that, you know, whether he lived to be 33 or 83 didn't make much difference. He could teach until he was blue in the face, but if his spirit didn't stay with the human species after his death, then there would be no Christianity. And so the Holy Ghost means that he left his spirit behind, in the same sense that, you know, Beethoven left his spirit, and Solzhenitsyn left his spirit, and Lucy left her spirit, and Lucy was, well, there's Lucy, the first human, that Lucy, the first female who lived 4 million years ago. Her spirit is still with us. We're talking about her right now at this table, but
But that's kind of an onward and upward forevermore sort of evolutionary theory that was popular at the turn of the century when Jung was around. I think it goes beyond that, because what comes to mind is Richard Strauss's composition, Also sprach Zarathustra, where at the end the Superman, whatever, falls down to the base again.
this is Nietzsche's Superman.
Nietzsche's, yeah, but Strauss wrote a composition, a tone poem about it. And at the very end, there's this little twiddle of the woodwinds, as if to say, "I'm coming back." You know, so it's like it's the reverse, but it's still this up-down sort of thing.
Yeah.
This inflation, alienation thing that Jung was talking about on a collective unconscious level.
Well, I mean, this is one of the points that we've had in here, I think, in the last week, which is that, yeah, you can strive for perfection, but when you create the paragon of perfection, you create a monster, okay? And that's the perfect masculine world, but the perfect masculine world is monstrous. And so there's immediately an Enantiodromia that pulls you back toward the other side, toward the feminine side, toward completeness. And it's obvious that we need a balance between perfection and wholeness, okay? And the middle way, I mean, this is the Buddhist way of thinking about it, but also I think what Jung is saying is that in all these things, okay, I'm never going to become a woman, okay? I have no plans to become transgender, and so I'm never going to become a woman, and I'm going to be largely masculine in my life. And Des is going to be largely feminine in her life. And we're not going to change that. But when a man and a woman marry, their combination that is in them, okay, that's the alchemical vase that does bring the opposites together, and so that's how the opposites are brought together. It's
Well, I
not,
understand that.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
The opposites are in us. I mean, the
No, I got
solution to the opposite. I mean,
I was
I know
just-
you do. I don't know they
Oh,
do.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay.
I was going to go on with my Supreme Being talk, but anyway.
All right, go on with your
No, I
Supreme
was
Being.
just going to say, I understand that. And what I was saying is there's an inherent bias that just seems to translate all the way down, that because we give darkness that evil tinge, that and women are associated with the darkness. I mean, it just keeps going on down, and it's a bunch of guys that are creating all of these, and as much as they are correct about what they're saying, they don't see the bias that they've thrown into the works from the very first duality, from the primordial beginning, from the
Right.
almost from that first axiom
Right.
of all existence. They've thrown a wrench into it because they immediately take darkness to be the bad and light to be the good. And that I've sort of brought this up before, but it's like, it's like, in a way, there's nothing without both of them. So they're in a way they're equal.
They are equal.
So you can't say, well, you can assign good and bad to them, but
But this is what Sophia says in the Psalms, right? That I read a couple weeks ago. I was there from the beginning.
Yeah.
I was Yahweh's consort.
Well, see,
Okay.
Yahweh to me is like a demiurge. He's not like one of the.
Well, I mean, Yahweh is an amoral force of nature. Okay, it's not a anthropomorphized God. I mean, okay, when Michelangelo painted the picture on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, he made God look like a human with his fingers
Yeah.
touching Adam. Okay, and zap. Okay, you're now conscious. You know, you're now out of the Garden of Eden, and so he made, you know, probably even way before that.
Well, he gave him life.
Yeah, but that's also man giving an amoral force of nature life. Okay.
I don't know if Yahweh is amoral. Depends on which myth you want to follow. So there's a lot of
Well,
myths.
there's a lot of myths, but according to the Christian myth,
Christians.
I mean, up to the point of Job,
At least the Christians that were canonized.
yeah. Well, yeah, okay. So up until the point of Job in Christian myth, Yahweh is an amoral force of nature, which is realized at the time of Job. This is Jung's
Here's a
point.
quick aside. One myth has Yahweh and Elohim, the Elohim,
Mm-hmm.
were born of Eve.
Pardon?
They were children of Eve. And Eve conceived by the Supreme Being. So she gave birth to these two. Later they became known as Cain and Abel. Yahweh had the face of a cat. Elohim had the face of a bear. And so there's a whole different story if you follow that myth, you know.
Okay,
And
this
that's
is
a
not a
Gnostic.
biblical myth,
That's
you're
a
saying.
Gnostic. What comes
Oh.
from the Gnostic writings.
Okay,
So yeah,
Fair enough.
it's from Nagamati or one
Right.